Assalamu alaikum kids. Having scaled our vectors in the previous video, in this video we'll discuss how to define a vector's direction. There are various methods that can be used to define a vector's directions, such as up, down, left, right. Well, you can use up, down, left, right to define a vector's directions, but the problem with up, down, left, right is that it has very limited use. Why? Because again, you have only four directions: up, down, left, and right, just four of them, right? Another set of directions is the north, south, east, west. The north, south, east, west again has limited use. Why? Because it's limited to only 8 directions. What are those directions? You have the north, you have the south, you have the east, you have the west. The other 4 directions are you have the northeast, you have the northwest, you have the southwest, and you have the southeast. This makes kind of things more complicated than they generally are, so we don't use these directions altogether. Another quantity which can be used to give directions of a vector is angles. Now, angles come with their own set of problems. Now, each angle can represent 4 different directions from the horizontal, as shown in the diagram. Again, each angle can also show 4 different directions from the vertical, as shown in the diagram. So essentially 130-degree angle, as shown in both the diagrams, can define 8 different directions. So just giving an angle may not be enough. Hence what we need is we need a reference point, like example north of east or something like that. When the reference point is chosen to be the up or the north direction, we get bearings. Now, bearings are generally the most effective method of representing the direction of a vector. Let's take examples from the previous slide where you had 4 different directions from the horizontal, each at 30 degrees from the horizontal, and you had another set of 4 different directions, each 30 degrees from the vertical. All of them are exactly 30 degrees from either the horizontal or the vertical, so they have the same angle, but all of them with a reference to the north will have a different set of bearings. So let's take a look at how each of the diagrams have a different set of bearings, right? So this right here was the first diagram where you had 4 different directions from the horizontal, each at an angle of 30 degrees. All of these directions have an angle of 30 degrees. So let's name this 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what's going to be the bearing of 1? The bearing of 1, this angle right here should be 90 degrees because the angle between north, south, east, west, all 4 are essentially 90 degrees. So all of these angles will be 90 degrees. All right. So essentially, if you take away the 30 from the 90, you are left with 60 degrees over here. Hence, the bearing of 1 will be 0, 6, 0. The bearing of 2 is going to be what? The bearing of 2 is just going to be this 90 degrees plus the 30 degrees. So the bearing of 2 is going to be 90 plus 30, and 90 plus 30 is exactly 120. The bearing of 3 will be this 180 degrees plus the remaining 60 degrees, because again this whole thing right here is 90 degrees, take away 30, you are left with 60 over here, and this whole half thing right here, the half rotation, is going to be 180 degrees. So 3 is going to have a bearing of 60 plus the 180 degrees, so that's going to be bearing 240. And then let's take a look at direction number 4. Direction number 4 is going to be this whole thing right here. So of course, if we go with this, so the 4 90s, so the 3 90s, sorry, so the 1, the 2, and the 3, these 3 90s are going to give you 270 plus the 30 degrees. So direction 4 is going to be 270 degrees plus the 30 degrees, and that's going to give you bearing 300. Now, you never pronounce the bearing as 300 or 240. So you say bearing 060, 120, 240, and 300. You always pronounce bearings in 3 digits. So even if it's 60, we call it 060. So the bearings always have to be in 3 digits. The other 4 directions were 30 degrees from the vertical or from the north. So this right here is going to be 30 degrees. This right here is going to be 30 degrees. This right here was 30 degrees. And this right here was 30 degrees as well. So again, all of them are going to have different bearings. They are all the same 30 degrees from the vertical, but they're still going to have different angles or different bearings. How? Let's draw a reference horizontal. All right, just for the sake of it, this right here is east and this right here is west. So we have our horizontal as well. And we know that these angles, these four angles are going to be 90 degrees. All these four angles are going to be 90 degrees. So finding out the bearing of direction 1, of course, it's just simply 30 degrees from the north. So the direction of bearing 1, like we said, that it's always got to be in 3 digits. So saying 30 is not enough. It should be bearing 030. The bearing of direction 2, the bearing of direction 2 is going to be what? So again, up till here, we have 90 degrees. And then this angle right here should be how much? So you've got this right here to be 90 degrees. You take away the 30, this right here becomes 60 degrees. So direction 2 has a bearing of 90 plus 60, which should be equals to 150, bearing 100 and bearing 150. Then you've got direction 3. Direction 3 is going to be this whole 180 plus the 30 degrees. So direction 3 should have 180 plus 30. So 3 should be, the direction 3 should be bearing 210. And then the last one, the direction 4. The direction 4 should be this whole 3/4. So these right here up till here are 270 degrees. Now again, we know that this right here is 90. Take away the 30. So you're left with 60 degrees over here. So direction 4 is just simply going to be 270 plus 60. And that's going to be bearing 330. So essentially what we have is all 8 directions which were 30 degrees from the north, 30 degrees from the horizontal and the vertical, have now been given all different bearings. So essentially bearings, even for directions with the same angles, bearings are always unique. Hence, because bearings give unique directions, the most appropriate method to give directions in your O-levels physics course are bearings. All right, that's it for this video, kids. Inshallah, I'll see you in the next one. Bars out.